Will you pray with me? In this season of anticipation, O God, speak to us by your Spirit. Speak to us through modern and ancient words. Speak to us continuously and consistently until the Word becomes flesh in us. We ask this in the name of Jesus. Amen. Well, I'm happy that all of you are here today despite the rain and cold. Today, we begin our journey to Bethlehem. I don't know about you, but I love Advent. The services are a bit more formal and introspective. And while we resist singing Christmas carols, at least for a couple of weeks, there is woven into the service the sort of hint of it, so that we begin to anticipate that which is to come. I love Advent. But at the risk of sounding like a total Scrooge, I'll admit that I'm not all that crazy about Christmas. Now, I love the Christmas Eve services, and I hope you will be here for them. The 5 o'clock service will be a family service with a pageant and a service for families with children in particular. And then later that evening, at 11, we'll have a service of candles and carols and communion. And our hearts will burst open when, just as the day arrives at midnight, we will sing together, Silent Night, Holy Night. That is the ideal journey to Bethlehem, and I love it. But as soon as Silent Night dies away, and we've said the benediction, and you've gone home, my love affair ends. You leave, and as the warmth rains out of the sanctuary, I'll close up the building and get home probably about 1 or 1:30, which normally wouldn't be a problem, except at 5 a.m. the next day, I have to be on a plane to Georgia, where I will meet my daughters, and there we will rent a car and drive 3 hours to see my parents in South Georgia. And we will celebrate Christmas with dozens of nephews and nieces and great-nephews and great-nieces and a handful of people that I've never seen before in my life. And by the time the children finish unwrapping their presents, the greatest gift I could receive is a good night's sleep. That is why I am not so fond of Christmas. I have done it that way for 30 years now. And of course, like many of you, this is the day when my heart aches most deeply for the loved one for whom I cannot buy gifts or exchange embraces. Many of you know just how that feels. And probably, for us, that is what makes this day bittersweet. But it also is what makes the Advent journey even more precious. I'll tell you, my family was not affluent. They could not have afforded to live in New Canaan, Connecticut. And so rather than traveling around the world, we took road trips in our car. Now, maybe that's why I love road trips even today. You see, I learned as a young person that while I might not enjoy where my father was taking us, if I played my cards right and looked out the window, I could find lots of places for us to stop along the way, like alligator farms, or the world's largest pumpkin, or something like that. You see, the destination might not be so much fun, but I could make the journey a blast. I think that's a good parable about what Advent may mean to us. You know, we must make the journey a blast. It wasn't until many years later that I discovered that a number of feminist theologians and philosophers have been trying to teach us that the journey is our home. As children, we were always anxious for Christmas to arrive, and back then it seemed like it would never come. Today, it seems to whirl around with stunning frequency. I am amazed at how often I look up and it's Christmas again. One lesson we mature ones need to remember, especially in this season, is the journey may be more precious than the destination. We get so focused on where we're going in life that we forget to celebrate where we are. We get so busy raising our children that we forget that where they are is a holy place. To celebrate them every day. I say to parents with little ones, don't fertilize them, they grow up too fast. It is true. Where we are is holy ground. Tonight, Hanukkah begins. And as our modern lesson sought to teach our children, Hanukkah is the commemoration of a time when, wildly outnumbered, the Jews were able to take back their own land against foreign oppressors in 160 BC. When the Hebrews rededicated the temple in Jerusalem, it required relighting the menorah. And according to the story of Hanukkah, it was only enough oil for one night. But miracle of miracles, they lit the light they had. And in the end, it was enough. Miraculously, the oil lasted for 8 days, long enough for them to be resupplied and for the temple to be dedicated. And so tonight, Jewish families all over the world will light the candles on their menorah, one light for each successive night, until all the lights are shining bright. You see, for our Jewish sisters and brothers, tonight begins the celebration of the coming of the light that dispels the darkness of despair. When I was at the Cathedral of Hope, one of the largest services of the year came because of this. You see, pagans celebrate this season in which we move toward the winter solstice, or the longest night of the year. On that night, they will have a great celebration and light a bonfire to welcome back the light. And for Christians, of course, we light another candle of our wreath until on Christmas night they will all be lighted and they will be at their brightest. We symbolize that we are moving closer and closer to the coming blaze that is the light of the world. Advent reminds us that all of our life is meant to be a journey of hope toward the eternal light, that infinite light. Of course, December 25th is not actually the birthday of Jesus. No one actually knows that date, but the early church chose that date precisely for the reason that pagans will celebrate the winter solstice, because it marks the return of the light, the coming of the light, and the end of the night. Hence, the first candle on our wreath that we light is the candle of hope. Despite the night, we remember the light, and that is the gift of hope. In the gospel lesson, we heard how in another dark time in Israel's history, a messenger came, first to Zechariah and then to Mary. Now, the word angel simply means messenger, so you can interpret it however you wish. Now, we will get to the messenger coming to Mary in the weeks to come. But today's reading was how the messenger came to Zechariah with the promise of the coming of John the Baptist. John the Baptist is the first story of Advent because he comes John comes to prepare the way for the coming of the light. He says that he himself was not the light, but the light was coming. In the same way, that beautiful prophecy from Isaiah is certainly not a reality in our world today, but it paints a picture of hope, a picture of what the world might be if ever the reign of God came on earth as it is in heaven. If our hope in that reign of light is real, then that hope must change our lives. It must change our behavior and our values. It must change our attitude and our conduct. As people whose journey is toward the light, our lives should be different from those who have no hope. Unless it changes our lives, hope is nothing more than magical thinking that someday there may be peace on earth, that someday things might get better, that someday we might get better. I believe you are here because hope burns within you. In fact, I believe you are here because you are a people who believe in eucatastrophe. Now, if you don't know that word, you are not to be blamed because, well, J.R. Tolkien made it up. But what he means by it is, while we all understand what a catastrophe is, a eucatastrophe is a wonderful upheaval. It's a good convulsion of circumstances. Tolkien gives a great example of it in The Hobbit. Gandalf, Sam said, I thought you were dead, but then I thought I was dead myself. And then Sam asked, Gandalf, is every sad thing going to come untrue? And Gandalf says, a great shadow has departed. Then he laughed. And the sound was like music, or like water in a parched land. And as he listened, the thought came to Sam that he had not heard laughter, the pure sound of merriment, for many days. It fell upon his ears like an echo of all the joys he had ever known. He cried, I feel, and then he waved his arms in the air. I feel like spring after winter. I feel like trumpets and harps and all the songs I ever heard. That is the definition of eucatastrophe. Everything sad is going to come untrue. Or as the psalmist put it, weeping may endure for the night, but joy comes in the morning. As people journeying through the night to morning, Advent comes to remind us that we journey with hope toward the light. And so, people of hope, let's hit the road. Amen.